This week I am going to be doing my full review of the 2022 Honda CB500F. Now if this is the first video that you've seen that I've made of this bike, do bear in mind that I've made a first ride video as well, and so do watch that one first. But for now, let's get on with it. The bike to sit on, I'm 5'8", 30-inch inside leg measurement, and I've got my feet flat right on the floor there. It will pull away from any car off of the lights, so if you need to get away quickly, then that's never going to be a problem. And overall, it's just quite a comfortable place to be. I got a slight reach to the bars over the tank here, but nothing excessive. Gear change and throws are very, very short, very snickable. It's easy to get into neutral. We've got the decent light clutch as well, which is fantastic, very easy and light to use. The bike on standstill is, you know, you can lean it either way, it doesn't become too intimidating. If you're a little bit shaky on a bike, maybe you just passed your A2, it's going to be your first big bike, and this will be a good one if you are a bit nervous. It'll be a very good one to try. Again, even at higher speeds, you still got a lot of acceleration ready to go at your wrist. So let's take it up to national speed limit here. 5th gear, 70 miles per hour, 6th gear, and we're at 70 miles per hour at 5,200 or so revs. I still have loads more if I want to roll on, then there's a steady increase up to 75, 80 there. The bike itself will do over 100 miles an hour, I would imagine, no problem at all there. Vibrations, I'm getting a bit through the bars, but nothing on the pegs, and limited through the seat as well. So for doing, you know, sort of 50 miles of this, the bike will do it no problem at all, quite easily. Of course, I'm getting a lot of windblast because it is a naked bike, and yeah, I'm getting pretty much all of the wind all over my torso, my upper body basically, around the helmet and everything else. But to tip in, the bike is a dream, it really is. With these Michelin Road Pilot 5s, or Pilot Road 5s, they're very good tyres, you know, coming from a stock tyre. They're great in the wet when it's raining, and they're also very good in the dry. So, I mean, years ago we used to have to buy bikes, and one of the first things that you wanted to change were the tyres, because they were always really rubbish. But with this bike, you do get decent stock tyres, and that does make a big difference. Now also, we got a decent dash as well. Now what you might think, with it being relatively open down there, is that the sun might catch it and it might be difficult to see. But in fact, I'm not finding that the case. We've got a decent gear indicator, which is quite handy, certainly when you're a new rider. Every time I see a ramp like that, I just want to ride up it. Are there any things I don't like about the bike? And strangely enough, no, there isn't really. There's nothing which I can really pinpoint about the bike I don't like. If you're a taller rider, it might be a little bit cramped for you after a while, after an hour on the saddle, so to speak. So I highly advise that you go for a long test ride on one, if that is going to be the case. But essentially, there's not really anything I dislike about it at all. I really want to find something, but I chose this bike for a long test ride because I knew that I was going to like it. I nearly bought one back in 2016, and I would say that the acceleration seems a little bit dumbed down compared to the 2016 model, but that might be a Euro 5 situation there. But for roads like this, absolute hoot of a ride. It really is, really good fun. And again, you've got those good tyres which give you loads of confidence. It's a great bike to learn your craft on as well. Everything about it is so light to use. So really, for a middleweight, this bike is perfect is a strong word, but it really is quite close to perfect, if you know, considering that it is a 500cc middleweight. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a quick 0 to 60 in my favourite place. Do note that the GoPro doesn't pick up that it is actually slightly uphill, so just bear that in mind. Right, so we'll stop here, check all's clear, and here we go. And there it is. So I think it's claimed that this bike would do 0 to 60 in around 4 seconds. But either way, it's in a very engaging type of acceleration on this bike. You only get out what you put in. Let's talk about some of the other bits about the bike. So I've already mentioned about the reach to the bars is acceptable. It's not too bad. Seat's very good. Very light gearbox. Let's just have a quick squish of the brakes a second. Perfect timing, 30mph zone. Right, so all clear behind me. So rear brake, stomp, stomp, stomp. And yeah, it's very good actually for a rear brake. It's surprisingly good. Again, helped by those Pilot Road 5 tyres. Let's try both brakes now. God, it stops very quickly. And that front brake, with it being double the power now, really shows. Very good. And the ABS is perfect. You feel it working away, but I mean, in the early days of ABS, you used to stomp on the brakes and you never felt like you were actually stopping. I'm sure a lot of you know what I mean by that. It felt like it was cutting in too much all the time. Whereas now, with the certainly with the Honda ABS, I have had ABS which I kind of question sometimes on some of the cheaper bikes, but with Honda ABS you still feel like you are actually stopping, and you just know that it's doing its job in the background of not locking up the rear, or the front of course, even worse, locking up the front. Okay guys, so let's see what the 500F is like in traffic. I think we all know that it's going to be pretty damn good. It's going to be very versatile, very flickable, and be able to nip in and out pretty quickly of the traffic. We have got the 17-inch wheel on the front and a 17 on the rear as well, so that kind of lends itself to city work and riding in places where it's very busy. Alright, so yeah, it is very easy to get through traffic on this bike. It's relatively narrow. The mirrors, the typical Honda ones, you know, yes, you have a good shot of your elbow, but you do also see a lot more than that because they are quite wide and they project a wide image. They don't really vibrate too much either, I've found. So overall, although yeah, they're not going to be the best mirrors, but let's not forget that we are on a 500cc motorbike, as opposed to a big adventure bike where it's a lot taller, and you can generally they are a lot higher up. So again, pulling off the lights. First of all, I know I'm in first gear because it's telling me on the dash. I'm straight up to 30 instantly, and that's where you want to be with these bikes. get up to speed, get away from the lights, and let them deal with anything else that comes their way behind me. So yeah, although that wasn't, you know, particularly heavy traffic, you know, I am in Devon for a start, so, but you know, it, as I say, it's what you'd expect, and it is very good at cutting through the traffic and filtering. Right, so let me run you through some specifications. The Honda CB500F has a 471cc engine, produces 47 horsepower and 43 newton meters of torque at 6,500 RPM. The tank range is a claimed 300 miles. I've been getting around 220, so I guess that's just a case of how you ride the bike. The bike weighs 189 kilograms. It does feel very light for me, being an experienced rider. So one big upgrade to the 2022 model are the dual brakes on the front. They are really good brakes now. I mean, I didn't have a problem with the brakes before really, but this is on another level again now, so they've really upped their game on that front. This particular bike got delivered in black and yellow. When I saw it on the form, I thought, well, is that going to suit the bike? But I think you would agree, it looks really good actually. The yellow against the black looks really good, and it's also got that yellow flicker around the tank as well. With sort of glitter sort of effect there. It looks really nice. With it being a Honda, these engines are tried and tested and have proved to be very reliable. And as people say, it is Honda bulletproof. They really are very good, strong engines, and you'll get well into, you know, 100,000 miles in most cases on these engines and gearboxes. So the £5,849 that you're paying for this bike is a fair price, and it is a bike which will literally last you for decades in many respects. Prices of parts as well is pretty reasonable, and you know, overall the bike is just an easy bike to live with. So in the UK, this bike is in a nice tax bracket as well. It's £69 per year for your road tax. The insurance is generally pretty cheap as well, it's pretty reasonable. New suspension on the 2022 as well. The rear and the front, it just feels really planted, and yet it's quite, it just takes you over the bumps really nicely. So whatever they've done to the suspension and the shocks is a big thumbs up and a big pat on the back from me for sure. Let's talk switchgear. So on the left bar we have the indicator left and right, and the horn, and the high beam, low beam, and on the other side we have a pass light. And also this particular model has the heated grips, which is a very nice touch if you're the type to be riding all year round. And on the right bar we have the kill switch, the hazards, and the start button. For pillion riding, it's not really a pillion bike, it's a very small seat on the back, and it's just going to be okay for occasional use and short hops across town. Dashboard. Idiot lights on the right hand side, have a rev bar here, a gear indicator, which is very good, very prominent, and what you need if you're a new rider. A fuel gauge, speedometer, temperature gauge, time at the top, total miles at the bottom, miles to the gallon. I am getting 73.4 at the moment, and also a trip A and trip B. I'm 5'8" and I've got a 30-inch inside leg measurement, and I've got my feet flat on the floor with a very slight bend on my knees there. Riding position, once you're up here, the bars are in a nice position. I don't feel like I'm over the tank at all, and I've got a nice bend on my knees here. I think if you're a short person, then I would say that you're probably going to be okay on this bike. I think anyone, around 5 foot and above, I think you'll be okay. Obviously do try it first. As a taller rider, again, this bike won't look small on you if you're sat on it. It will suit all sort of heights really, and even with my legs up here, like say if you're 6 foot, then you know your knees are going to be about here, which will be fine. It will look okay there. Okay, so as you can tell, I really like the 2022 Honda CB500F. I think they've done a really good job in upgrading this bike. There's no
gimmicks about this bike. You know, they got the decent tyres now, they got the great suspension and shocks, including the rear shock as well, is fantastic. Got the new rear swing arm, which, to be honest, I haven't really noticed anything different about that, but I've obviously upgraded it for a reason, so that's great. And overall, it's just a really good bike for a newbie, an experienced person. Whoever would own this bike would enjoy it. It really does cater for everyone. So yeah, well done Honda, and thank you very much for the experience of having this bike for the last 2 weeks or so. I think you've got a cracking bike, and I don't need to say to you, I hope it sells well. It is going to sell well. There's no doubt about that, as they always have. So brilliant. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week.